Nick and Dr. Delphine have. So that's really how I got my start doing this. And what I do is I partner and I work with other practitioners throughout the entire Chicagoland area, partnering with them as a way to help improve their patient care and their patient outcomes. So working with practices just like this, working to help patients just like you guys to really get the best out of their health possible. And so what I'm going to talk about is just challenges in the supplement industry and really how does detoxification work. So what can you guys expect from doing the detoxification program, why it's so important, maybe also explain a little bit of some of the, you guys all obviously go into grocery stores and you see the detox formulas every day. What's different about this versus that? And if any of you guys have questions in more detail that I don't touch on, please raise your hand. I'm happy to answer that or come visit me by the table after this. So starting off, who is Orthomolecular? So we started in 1989, and again, our vision was to service healthcare providers with a way to help their patients get better outcomes. Another way of saying that is our vision as a company is to transform the practice of medicine. In the United States, we unfortunately put lifestyle and nutrition, chiropractic, all these other things that are crucial to our health as the last resort. We don't put them as a priority, and they should be because they're the least intervention possible. And that's the mentality that we should be thinking about. And so we have structured a vision as our company to really influence the ability to change that care model throughout the entire medical industry. We've been doing that. We've rapidly grown over this period of time to servicing tens of thousands of doctors over the entire nation, servicing doctors in different parts of the world, in Canada, and then we're moving into areas like Europe and Australia in the near future. So I think it's important that I'm going to tie back to with that as well too, is other countries have much better quality standards than we do here in the United States. And I think that's important, and I'll touch on that in a little bit more here. But overall, you'll see this at the top right here where it says efficacy, the power of E. This is a really important message for us because efficacy often in the manufacturing space gets pushed back. And basically what efficacy means is putting your best foot forward to get a specific type of outcome. And for us, that outcome is to really change a patient's outcome. So if you guys are coming in for back pain, and chiropractic's helping that, and nutrition is helping that. That's what we want to see. We don't want you guys to be using medication. Well, maybe it works for the first couple of months, but then what happens after that? Or maybe your cholesterol isn't changing. After 6 months of using the same medication, you're having that increase. Like we want to develop formulations that are specific, that are proven to work, and that have a track history of changing outcomes for the patients. And just to give you guys a little bit more, I'm not going to go through all these bullet points here, just to give you a little more context about who we are. I already mentioned that we're a local company. I think one of the things that I want to touch on again, it's at the very top there, is that we're independently and privately owned. And I think in a world where there's a lot of transitions and acquisitions happening in our industry, a lot of supplement companies getting purchased, and a lot of big box retailers and manufacturers are coming in and buying small companies. Nestle, if you guys are familiar with Nestle, they like to buy a lot of supplement companies apparently now. They created a whole division of their organization called Nestle.
They bought that big.
They bought like 25 different companies.
The green one.
Astra, or not, thinking of the pharmaceutical agent. There's a Canadian company that I'm forgetting.
Is it Rainbow something?
No, they just bought a big one that was mostly.
Genestra is the one in Canada they bought. Pure is another one. There's a number of 20 other different companies that they purchased. But again, it's our values lie with servicing healthcare practitioners and helping them get outcomes with their patients. And what we're seeing with the values of what this industry is really cultivated and built on, they're starting to change. Because we're having large amounts of money that are coming into our space. Pharmaceutical companies are starting to develop divisions of their companies that are really focused on this. And when you think about why that's important is because if they put profits before people, what happens to the formula? What happens to the quality of the product? It changes because the values change as a company. And that's why for us being a privately owned and family owned company is super, super important because we will apologize 1,000 times for how much something costs or if there's any other issues with the product before we apologize one time for the quality. That is the most important thing for us out of anything. And that's why we choose to partner with practices like this because they have the same values and they share the same values that we do. So to give you some additional context there, raw material selection, this is actually a very lucrative process. It's a very challenging process. We have a science team out in Stevens Point where they actually go around the world and they vet different facilities. And it's very challenging to do that, believe it or not, because suppliers can show you one thing and then they will send you something else that might not test that. So if anybody bought supplements before, like Walgreens, CVS, I know everybody has, I've done it too. So, but if you've seen any of the studies that have come out with that, their quality control is minimal. They're known for, you're buying a glucosamine, you're buying a collagen. There's no glucosamine, there's no collagen in there. that's known to happen because they don't have quality standards. And we vet our companies. We actually vet them. We test every single thing that comes into our product or comes into our facility, and we verify that if something comes off the smallest spec, we're going back at them and we're saying, hey, why is this off? And that's why we single source 75% of our raw materials, which means we have a large amount of suppliers because they do the best in X, Y, Z specific thing. They may not do the best in A, B, C. That's why we really go out, we do our due diligence, we vet these facilities just to make sure that at the end product, you guys are confident, and practices that we work with Dr. Delphine and Dr. Nick are confident that our formulations are really going to be what they would expect.
You may touch on this, but that's why you can buy 3,000 fish oils at Costco for $5 because they don't put the time and energy into that. And why the fish oils and the different supplements cost more when you actually because they have to pay the people that go out and do all. And there's
and I think fish oil is a great example of this. So does anybody actually know how fish oil is sourced? Where it's sourced? So it comes from the might gross some of you guys out here. So sorry. It comes from the coastal regions off Asia commonly, and it's heavily overfished. And because of that, there becomes a long period of time to get it from there to here. So it doesn't fly on the ship; it comes by boat. And guess how long? Anybody, just take a guess how long it actually takes. Industry average to get something. What they call in the industry is catch a capsule. So that means how long it takes them to get it from the ocean into the soft gel. Anybody have a guess how long it takes?
6 months.
You're gonna be disappointed.
A year.
It's 2 to 3 years on average.
Yeah.
And so anybody open up their fish oil if you ever get it from Costco, open up, smell, rancid.
Oh.
Why is that?
2 years old.
Same thing that we talked about with Sebastian and the oil was heating up. The oil is oxidizing when it gets too hot, which is bad. It's not. We don't want oxidized fats because our body it's oxidation is what happens if you leave avocado out, it starts to brown. Not good, right? So nonetheless, like when you're looking at what is actually in those types of things and the supply chain that happens with that, it's super important to understand what is going on behind that product. But you don't understand it because you turn over the label, they all look the same, right? There's maybe a little bit difference here with milligrams and natural or something like that. So it's challenging, right? It's challenging for your guys' application and your guys' ability to understand what goes behind a company to manufacture that product. And there's a lot of steps that unfortunately get skipped when you're manufacturing that formulation. So that's why we focus a lot on that. We do a lot of stability testing, and we have our own state-of-the-art lab that we're doing all these types of things. We actually send out the third party, then they validate what we validate, and it's just kind of like a cross-check analysis that we try to do. So, but obviously the supplement industry has had its large amount of issues and a lot of challenges and a lot of media that's blasted it. I'm just going to put up a couple things for you guys here. Unapproved pharmaceutical ingredients included in dietary supplements. So, I mean, these are things that happen frequently. And again, it's just because the reality is like quality control is minimal, if there even is any. And there also, I think this is important to say as well, there's also, no barriers to entry in our company, in our industry. Does anyone know what that means? So it means that there's no quality standards or anything that they have to be met in the United States. So you can be anybody and you can get a loan from a bank, get a business loan, go to a manufacturer and say, hey, I want you to throw these few things in there too. Well, if that manufacturer is not an expert, or they're not doing the due diligence, or they have certain cost standards that they have to meet or cost maximums they have to meet, what are they going to do to be able to do that? First thing that's going to go is the quality of the product. And so when you have companies that aren't experts in this field, they don't understand what goes into this, then you end up with adulterated products and things that have other toxins and chemicals in which I'm not touching on. But
from my understanding, almost every supplement is going to say the FDA has not approved this, which that takes away all the liability. So and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the only thing they have to do is put the amount in there. Mm-hmm. So this is a 500 milligram vitamin C. It could be 500 milligrams of dirt, and they're off the hook because it's the amount. Yeah, there's no standard.
And this industry is heavily regulated. Don't be misunderstood. It's a heavily regulated industry, but because there's no barriers to entry, and it's so easy for more companies to be created, it is very difficult for the FDA to have the capacity to go and regulate everybody. And they don't have the ability to get funding to expand their ability to look at other standards and do those types of things. So it's important the way that we try to do this. We look at most European standards because they far exceed what we do here. Another example I think I used with a couple of you guys with fish oil is that the United States would test for very, very few chemicals, heavy metals in fish oil. In Europe, in places like Germany, there are not-for-profits, one's Eurofins. You guys can look that up if you like. They test for 400 chemicals and toxins and heavy metals that we didn't test for FDA USP standards. So we try to abide by most of those standards when possible when we're manufacturing our products. And that's why professional branded companies like the ones that they carry here are super, super important because we do our due diligence to understand that research. So I would say the spheres are the important things that really allow us to be able to produce an efficacious product are these things here: formulation, quality, and manufacturing. So we're a science-based company. We're really based on developing formulations that have evidence-backed. There's thousands and thousands of studies that we're going through constantly. We have Dr. Thomas Williams. He's our PhD. He's one of the most renowned researchers in the nutritional and botanical space. He is who helps us manufacture and establish where our formulation would be. That way we can target certain disease states and we can have specific outcomes like we're doing with the detox. In addition to that, quality, I mentioned a couple times, is super important. I'll mention one more just because we have such really rigid standard operating procedures and rigid manufacturing operating procedures. And alpha-lipoic acid, does anybody know what that is? So alpha-lipoic acid is an ingredient that's used, it's actually used as a pharmaceutical agent in Germany to treat diabetic, type 2 diabetes and diabetic neuropathy. And it's used commonly in a lot of supplements here. There's a lot of mechanisms that work really well with the body, but when you look through, again, supplements that can known to have other things that are not supposed to be associated with it, alpha-lipoic acid is one of those that can. And the majority of companies, I would argue over 99% of companies are manufacturing this by extracting using things like benzene. So benzene ends up being put in the product almost all the time. And you guys know what benzene is? World Health Organization will tell you it's a carcinogen, it's cancer causing. And so what we do, while it costs us 300% more to do, we actually take our product through a steam distillation process. And that allows us to remove benzene and remove any types of chemicals that would be potentially in that end product too. So again, like for us, at the end of the day, cost is the last thing we're worried about. We will put as much cost forward to produce the end product that is important. And then efficacy in manufacturing, so really just establishing a better path to the nutritional industry. FDA is in our facility constantly because we're such a large company and trying to understand what we do, making sure that we have our I's dotted, our T's crossed as it relates to our manufacturing process. We actually donate back to the nutritional industry for research and for to really cultivate and create a better industry as well. So let's talk about detox. A lot of you guys could be coming in here looking at these for really specific applications. There is a questionnaire that is in your guys' folder. I'd encourage you to fill that out. There is a before section on there too. Typically on the back side of that, there's an after section. I don't know if that's on there, but if it's not, what I would encourage you guys to do before you do this, go through with maybe a colored pencil or a marker, fill that out. After you're done, go back with a different color and then fill it out. And that's going to really allow you to assess your symptoms and see what benefits you might have made from that too. But these are just a number of the symptoms and reasons why people detox. And just kind of adding to what we communicated earlier to you guys, CDC's report in 2006, so this is 15 years ago, right? They said that 116 of 148 synthetic compounds are found within the average individual. And when you look through more research here, the average umbilical cord blood contains 217 neurotoxins, and 208 of them are known to be cause birth defects. So it's important that we understand that these toxins are there, but the question ends up being is how do we circulate these out? And a lot of things that we've talked about today minimize our exposure to them, but like we discussed, there's some things we can't control. And the reality is from the air we're breathing, the food we're eating, all the things that we're doing, we're always getting exposed to this. Is why doing a detox, living a healthy lifestyle, all these things are super important to do that. So I'm going to give you guys some science here, so nobody fall asleep on me, please. But just so you understand how detox works. So detox is happening across our entire system constantly. There's some questions earlier about neurotoxins and those types of things, but a lot of it happens in the microbiome, it happens in the gut. And the liver is our main organ that's used to detoxify. But we don't circulate these toxins out, they can cross our blood-brain barrier. They can end up, things that end up in our gut will end up in our brain. We've seen that through what's called the gut-brain axis. So it's important that we're constantly providing our body with the capacity to be able to circulate these things out of the system. And so detoxification is a two-phase process, so it's super easy to remember. Phase one is basically a process where we're taking where toxins are stored, which is typically in fat tissue, right, adipose tissue. So what we do is through nutrients, right, the nutrient value will allow us to really circulate these out, which is why they say eating your leafy vegetables and getting nutrients in the food you're eating. And what Sebastian was mentioning earlier with how our nutrient value from our food is declined, why we have less capacity here. And so we start this process by circulating these fat-soluble toxins out of the body, and these convert to intermediate metabolites. So there's basically these intermediate components that we then need to convert to water soluble and circulate out of the body. So the process that does this is through this enzyme that's called cytochrome P450. I don't think that's important for you guys to remember. Just know that our body is trying to take these and change the structure of them so we can get them out of the body. And I do want to mention though that this process is important because these guys are actually more toxic than these themselves. So it's important that when we convert this process, that we circulate these out of the system. So I'm sure many of you guys have gone and said, hey, I want to get back in the gym. You go through like a week or 2 week, like really hard kick, and then you're just like, hey, I am exhausted. This is like tiring stuff, right? Well, a lot of that exercise stimulates this activity. The nutrients that I'm going to talk about next, those are the things that convert that and get those out of the system. So it's important that we're not just, just in the gym. It's important that we're getting nutrient value. We're using things that don't provide us with a lot of toxins and chemicals, so we're able to have the capacity to circulate these out. So second phase here is a much simpler phase, but I would argue the most important is where we take these intermediate metabolites and we convert them to water soluble. These are all the nutrients that are necessary to be able to do that. And by converting them to water soluble, which this is called sulfation, glucuronidation, it's a number of different phases in our body, we're able to eliminate them through urine, stool, and bile. And that's how we take them, we get them circulated out of our system. And overall, just what this process looks like when we add it back together too, it's a process where we take toxins that are stored in fat, break them up, convert them to those intermediate components, and then circulate them out of the body. And so what's important, I guess, here's an analogy that I often use. So this is a sink full of dishes. Imagine it's a sink full of water, okay? So bear with me with that. So sink full of water here, if a faucet that is constantly turned on is our exposure to toxins. So that's an example of breaking up fat-soluble toxins. If this sink is filled with water and the drain is our body's ability to circulate these out, so it's our phase 2 activity, if we constantly keep pouring more water in the sink, what's going to happen? It's going to overflow, right? And that's exactly what's doing our body. It's going to happen in our body. Our body gets overburdened, and it doesn't have the capacity to do that. And that's when we develop those reactions when we're fatigued and when we feel like we're not getting the most out of this and we're burnt out. And so really reestablishing how this process is supposed to function is absolutely critical. So what's special about the way that we do our detox programs is we start with phase 2 activity. So we start creating balance where there is the dysfunction first. And we do that with the core support powder. And I'm going to go through just a couple things here.
This is all in their detox.
This is all in your guys'
You'll
kit.
have a booklet in the detox that walks you through all of this stuff.
Exactly. It'll walk you through what I'm saying here, why detoxification is important. It'll talk about how you run the program. And then Dr. Nick's going to take over after me. He's got a few pieces of maybe some food choices and other things that you guys are going to do throughout there as well too. And the handbook, keep in mind, it's your complete roadmap for detoxification. It's super quick, easy to read. There's a lot of different meal plans and stuff like that in there too, just so you guys can be creative. But the goal of this is not just like, hey, we're going to detox, we're going to stop. We want to help you guys create healthy habits with that shift lifestyle. So what Dr. Delphine mentioned earlier with, starting with one thing, do that for 2 to 3 months, and then start with another thing. Like the idea with this is we're trying to create habits, and that's the goal of what this program is too. So this is the most important product that's in there. This is core support. This is what we call functional food. Why we call it functional food? Because it's not just like a protein powder that you buy from GNC or Vitamin Shop. It's functional in nature, and it's functional in nature because it has a proven blend that is designed to reestablish function from a detox capacity. So we have this blend in here called Veggie Antioxidant. So there's a lot of antioxidants there. It's actually a tested blend. So they've actually tested this blend in labs, and they've actually seen that it's able to reestablish the function of phase 2 activity. Believe it or not, they actually have seen that it increases that activity up to 650%. So it's really, really reestablishes that function. And then you're going to add in things there like fiber, which is really crucial to help take toxins and circulate them out of the body, keep regular bowel movements, which is absolutely crucial. And then 15 grams of protein, which really helps activate a lot of these detox processes as well too. And there's going to be a lot of other nutrients and other things in here that are really going to support that process. In addition to this, there's going to be a micronutrient formula called Alpha Base in there. And so what this is going to do, if you guys remember these earlier, I think this here. So all these nutrients that are in here, right? All these nutrients are key components to be able to reestablish these functions, which is why you're going to see an alpha base. It's going to be chock full of nutrients that are going to be designed to reestablish that. What I will tell you is you guys are going to, when you take this, you're going to take 2 capsules in the morning, 2 capsules at night. Best taken with food because the minerals and the vitamins get to mesh with the foods and allows you to take some of these ingredients that are fat soluble, like vitamin B, for example, and kind of mix those with that so you can get the best accumulation with that as well too. With this, we also use really high grade minerals. I'm gonna teach you guys really quickly like how you can kind of weed through companies that are like maybe when you're buying another product that they may have like inferior minerals. So does everybody see this up here? Can you guys all see that? Okay, where it says like tracks. So it also will say bisglycinate chelate. Does anybody know what that is?
Nope.
It's a form of a mineral. So what they chelation is basically how we take minerals and we combine with things. So if you guys are ever at a store, maybe sometimes you see like a magnesium oxide or magnesium or calcium carbonate. If you guys take calcium products, those mean they're bound to a different component. Oxygen is essentially what oxide is. Citric acid is something else, and those are typically called mineral salts. It means you need a lot of acid in your stomach to break those up. And even with a lot of acid, they have really poor bioavailability, and they just make your stomach turn and have a lot of issues. So if any of you guys are ever taking multivitamins and it does a lot of that, makes your stomach turn over, a lot of times it's from the minerals. So because we take these and we bind these to these chelate, or means kind of amino acid, means they just absorb really, really easily. And it means they absorb at a really high rate. So that's what we're doing there, just to make sure that you guys get the nutrients that you need. And then last year, just finishing up, the other product that's going to be in there is called Phytocork. And Phytocork is basically going to be just an additional component we're adding on the third day of your guys' program. And it's just other nutrients that are meant to help produce antioxidants in the liver. And then they help to basically break up fat tissue and stimulate bile, which helps us basically metabolize and absorb those fats. So overall, this is the patient handbook here. There's different food choices and things that you guys can see if we can do that. Really, I do encourage you guys to go through that and definitely do the questionnaire pre and post. And then
those are the explanations on how to take everything.
Yep.
Right. So you'll take it according to the booklet. Like you'll just walk through there. I don't think you guys can read all that. If you have questions, we're here for you the whole time. We'll walk you through it. But you'll take it according to the booklet, and then can I go through those protocols? Or do you have anything else?
Absolutely.
Thanks. Thank you, Matt. Now, I mean, are we happy that we're doing this detox though, right? I mean, you're happy we're not just getting the one off the Walgreens shelf. Like he's able to come here and walk you guys through exactly why and what the heck's going on in this thing. Because most people we literally grab it off the shelf and say, yeah, it says natural on it. It's got kind of a green-brown color, right? So it must be good, right? It must be natural. So I really appreciate Matt took his, time. Matt and Sebastian both take the time out of the day just to be here and educate us on what's going on in our food. So yeah, that's all in the book. You'll see how to use all of this. I know a few people had questions on. Some people didn't necessarily want to lose weight. A lot of people may want to, but different outcomes. And that'll be around for questions and stuff afterwards. You can ask them how to make sure you're getting the best results there, because you never do a detox. You never do a detox to lose weight. It does happen to be a side effect sometimes if you do it correctly, because you're just getting the garbage out. But it's not like it's not a diet, or it's not like just a cut weight fast thing. Okay.
So does that book in there tell you what else you can eat besides this?
Right, I'm about to get to that right now.
Okay.
I'm about to do that right now. All right. So this is again more information about the supplements. The bundles in there has this little thing called the YLEO on there, which is an acronym that I stole from somebody. It means what I like about ours. So if you have that sheet, you can look in there that says this is why we recommend why we like our vitamin C or why we like our vitamin D. Now, for example, our vitamin D has probiotics in it, so it helps you absorb it more, get more benefit of it. Our vitamin C has something called quercetin in it, which is a potent antioxidant. It also helps your vitamin C, work quadruple than would normally. It also helps zinc cross the barrier as well. So just some different things you're going to get from a high quality supplement. All right, here's our 14-day detox protocol. So we have week 1, we have week 2, right? We kept this pretty simple. So 14 days. So you start taking your supplements. The first thing you got to do, the only way you can mess up a detox is to not drink enough water. You have to drink enough water for this. So I recommend a gallon of water a day. A gallon of water a day. Here you go, for everybody that's worried about that. Hydration tip, drink 1 gallon of water a day. It helps you avoid other people's drama because you're too busy peeing. Right? So everybody complains about the gallon of water. This is why we do it. So let's say the industry standard is if you're 200 pounds, you drink 100 ounces of water a day, right? You drink half your body weight in ounces. You guys have all heard that before. If you haven't, that's what the standard is, you drink half your body weight in ounces. Well, if you're a 200-pound person and you're shooting for 100 ounces, but just you had a busy day and it just got away from you and you only drank 90 ounces, well, now you're in a danger zone. You didn't drink enough. Does that make sense? So during a detox, you're really going to be putting yourself in danger. But if you're shooting for a gallon of water a day, maybe I only drink 120 ounces that day, But you surpassed that 100, right? So you're in a healthy zone. You guys with me? We just do not want to be drinking too little water. You'll dehydrate your body, you'll dehydrate your discs, you dehydrate your muscles, like you can cause injury by doing that.
You're not saying a gallon on top of the half your body weight water.
No, half your body weight of water is what you should be drinking every day.
Right.
But we're saying you drink a total of gallon.
Okay.
Right.
I was like, is there a gallon on top of
No,
it?
so Joey, that's gonna be way too much for you, that's gonna be, but my point is, if you just shoot for what you're supposed to get, if you shoot for 80 ounces and you just don't end up making it, you're in a danger zone now, you're gonna start to dehydrate, because remember, this detox is flushing, it's getting things out. So we gotta have the water there to flush. All right, so that's the water part. Now, the third part, I think, was probably just as important, is you gotta get this right. Because the next week is when we're doing the hard stuff, right? The next week.
Can we add stuff to our water, like ginger or mint?
Great question. Great. If it's natural, right, not just like it says it on a bottle, but yeah, if you get out of a garden or the grocery store and it's organic, yeah, that's fine. Totally fine.
Like lemon,
Totally fine, yeah,
mint.
What about mineral
Ginger is
water?
amazing in water.
Like
Okay.
sparkling water.
Yeah, like the Goldstein or whatever.
So that's probably better than not water, but I would say maybe give yourself a half credit for that. Right? So yeah, I mean, if you drink, you just have to drink a little bit extra. Right? I'm just going off like sparkling water and stuff like that. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, Trader Joe's,
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know, it's called Goldstein
I
or
would-
whatever.
yeah.
They're in the glass bottles.
I would give just maybe half credit, a little more than half credit, but if that's all you're drinking, that's not going to cut it, right? We want to be drinking a lot of fresh, filtered water. Okay, good question. If you have that problem, you're probably doing it right already. You know, if you're taxing about different waters, you're probably doing a good job.
Where do you buy water? Because I don't know the What to buy.
Yeah, I mean, you get like the Britas or thing like that pretty easily, like that's a good way. So you want to measure your water. I don't have it with me right now, but I usually have a 32-ounce glass jug that I carry around the office. For me, it's a lot easier to drink 32 ounces 4 times than like 12 ounces 20 times throughout the day. I just use track. So at home, grab like your glasses at home, get a measuring cup and measure so you know, like the glass I have in the morning, it's a 16-ounce glass. I usually drink 3 of those as soon as I get up. I drink 3 of those. So I mean, look at that. I'm getting a quarter of my water and like right away, first thing in the morning. You're thirstiest in the morning, it's going to go down easier in the morning. All right. So get prepared mentally. The second week is our raw week. Now, don't be scared by that. Right? You got to do the very best you can. The more you eliminate, the better the detox you're going to get. Why do we say do a raw week? Because if I start putting all these different, like, oh, you can eat this or eat that, then it just gets really messy and you don't really know. Raw means literally nothing cooked. All right, so we're going to have a lot of salads, a lot of seeds, a lot of nuts, a lot of oils. What makes you feel full? Everybody's like, I never feel full. Fat makes you full. Fat makes you, avocados have a lot of fat in it. Fat makes you full. So if you're not hungry, or if you're not satisfied, and you still feel you have to eat, you're not getting enough fat in your diet. You've got to get, so coconut oil, right? Avocados, seeds, nuts, these all have the fats in them. That dip recipe in there, that's what saves me here. I probably have that for one of my favorite meals. We make it, basically a homemade mayonnaise, and you put a little water in there, and it makes more like a dip. You put it's 1 egg, 1 cup of oil, and like 3 tablespoons of spices, maybe a little salt, I think a little bit of garlic and some water. You blend it up, and it's freaking awesome. And we cut up vegetables, so it's got your fat, it's got your protein, it's got your carbs in there in the right ratios. Makes me feel it's full, it's awesome. I'll walk you guys through. We have videos on Facebook of us making that. So I put a couple things: apple fast, bone broth fast, and water fast. These are a little bit more. This might be like advanced if you want to go a little bit deeper. So you tried the bone broth right here. So there's going to be 2 days during that week where I'm just going to have bone broth only. Me personally, remember this is my 9th detox. Right? There's 2 years ago I had a conference where I was detoxing, and I was by myself and said, "Great, I don't have to worry. I just did a water fast. I just drank water for a day." It was hard. But the next day, I was hungry, my mind was clear. I went for 2 more months, and I had to force myself to eat lunch because I broke my addictions. Right? You got to work through these addictions. Some of you guys, you don't know you're addicted to sugar. You're addicted to just the process of eating in general. You've got to break these addictions. So during this raw week, we're going to break those addictions. Right? That's enough. That's why it's going to get hard. Remember, sugar's in almost anything, guys. I would venture a bet that almost all of us here are addicted to sugar. Yep. Coffee, right? Coffee. Oh my gosh. So coffee and alcohol are two things. Like listen, guys.
That's it, I'm.
Which I hear often. So, but maybe that's the one thing you get is you don't need 5 cups of coffee that day. Maybe you go down to 3. Maybe that's the thing you got. You don't have to have a glass of wine with every single meal, right? That's like my wife's French. We drink wine, right?
Yeah, say something with this, like, I love to cook, and we cook our meals, and I love to cook with a glass of wine at night. So what I'm gonna do instead is having like the water and lemon and a glass of wine. So I'm still having that habit there, but without the alcohol, obviously. So, but then the other thing is just when you say it's gonna be hard, the more you
Get mentally
prepare,
ready. Get
planning
mentally
your
ready.
meals, getting your groceries done tomorrow, like, it's gonna be,
Shop.
make it 50% easier just right there.
For that raw
Think
week,
about.
what you've got to do is you've got to make a menu. Sit
Yeah.
down and make a menu for every meal and for every snack for the next 7 days. Because otherwise, you're going to come home, you're going to be hangry, right? And you're going to see peanut butter and jelly there, and you said, "Screw you guys, I'm eating peanut butter and jelly." Right? I get it. Like we've all been there. So if you prepare, the more you prepare, the more mentally ready you are, the easier it is.
And make
Right? So
extra
much
for
easier.
dinner. That way you have it for lunch.
And listen to your body. She does not do the raw week. She eats an egg every morning. She's one of those people that just burns fat, burns calories like that. Like she doesn't want to lose weight on this, so she has to have an egg every morning, or she'll pass out. Her metabolism burns so fast. So that may be something you have to do. You may have to look at what you're putting in your body. Exercise, right? I still exercise during this. I still want to sweat. I still get into the sauna. I still sweat. But if you're putting you might have to drink a little bit more water for this. You might have to check your nutrients. Does that make sense? This isn't just I'm just going to do this one thing and I'm going to feel dizzy or sick or whatever it is.
So week 1, we're doing shakes and we're doing.
So week 1, you read this book, you start the process. You don't have to change anything else except for drink more water.
So I can still eat.
You can eat, right?
Just
It's only
coffee
one
and
thing.
alcohol.
So that's week 1, but I would recommend maybe like Wednesday, you start,
Yeah.
maybe you stop eating pasta,
Yeah.
and maybe Thursday, you stop the coffee or alcohol, keep your coffee. You can have a cup, if you want a cup of coffee a day, that's fine. If, whatever. And again, if you don't cut coffee out, it's not the end of the world. Like if you have to have your coffee to get through this, if you don't change anything about your diet, you just take this supplement, you're gonna get a change. It's gonna be good, but the more you cut out, the better.
Okay, so you're slowly preparing yourself.
That's what I'm gonna do, and then week 2 is when I hit that raw week.
So, and week 2, is there something that says how many, like if you're gonna do raw?
How much you can eat?
Right.
You guys can eat 60 pounds of apples as you want. That's the best part. It is not calorie restricted. Right? Eat until you're hungry, but eat the right stuff. Now, I'll tell you, if you can't get, like I said with the fast, if you feel like you're always hungry, you gotta get more fat in your diet. So for me, I've told some people this story, like food doesn't bother anything. Like it doesn't matter texture, taste. If it's good for me, I'll eat it. So when I'm on that second cook here, that second chip, and I just go get a scoop of coconut oil and I down the hatch. And guess what goes away instantly? All my cravings. I don't feel hungry. I don't feel like it all goes away instantly because I gave my body what it actually needed. So eating like those carbs, that's like lighting a fire made out of cardboard. It's very easy to light, but it goes out fast, right? So you get the energy quick, but it's gone. Eating your healthy fats is like burning wood fire. It's a little harder to light, but it lasts longer and you'll get better energy for a longer amount of time. So that's what people, they have trouble getting full, you're not eating enough fat.
Okay, what about like the berry smoothie? Would that count in week 2?
Yeah, it's all raw. Yeah, it's all raw.
Nothing's covered.
Yeah, sure.
You can't steam anything.
Listen, you can do whatever you want. But do the best you can.
Yeah.
Right, so that's why the bone broth is also I like, because the bone broth, that's cooked, the bone broth is cooked, but the nutrients, and it's easy to digest, okay? So raw food is a lot easier for your stomach to digest, it's easier on your system, it's got enzymes in it. So the bone broth is cooked, but like if you're like, man, I really need something warm, I want a soup, eat the bone broth, right? That'll give you that warm kind of, that food.
The first thing, start taking your supplements.
There's
What
no
if I take a lot of supplements?
Oh,
Why
Matt,
stop all those and then?
great question. She says she takes a lot of supplements already.
Yes.
When they're doing the detox, what should they cut out or keep, or how does that work?
I would just use the products that are in the detox and stop those. And after you finish the detox, after you finish those products, you can restart those as you're continuing to do the other logistics.
So like vitamin D, stuff like that?
Yeah, so
Taking
there's gonna be
calcium.
vitamin D and all those things in the formulas that you guys would be using. So all the necessary nutrients that you guys would be needing, probably you're already taking as is, besides the fish oil. So if you're taking the fish oil and you want to keep taking that, you can still keep doing that. But everything else that you guys would generally take is gonna be in there. Besides the fish oil and probiotic. So if you're taking those two things you can keep doing.
So think about, but if you, like, if they wanted, like, with the way the world, like, supplement a little extra boost of vitamin D.
Yeah, and if you want a little bit more of vitamin D,
Vitamin C and
absolutely,
stuff like that.
absolutely.
But like your proteins and all that, that's.
Yeah, you're gonna get that from that. So if you have like an immune product, or one of the immune products that you're gonna get through here, then keep doing those, or you keep doing some other things there. Otherwise, if it's like generalized products or like multivitamins, you're gonna get that through.
Oh, so you didn't stop your multivitamin.
Yeah, there's gonna be a multi in there that's designed for
Great
detox.
Oh, black, I'm familiar with black seed oil.
Yeah, so yeah, and I mean that's kind of a similar intention there too. So you can continue taking those. If it's something like a multivitamin or another detox product, if it's not something that you
Protein powder.
protein powder, yeah, then I would say those you can stop. The rest of the things you're gonna get through the
And
other
there's
ones.
iron in there too.
So the multivitamin actually does not have iron. So if you use an iron specifically for that, or you have a pharmaceutical prescription for iron, those things obviously you continue to take.
Great question.
Good questions.
Good question. All right. So as far as,
I have two questions. What about like greens, the next greens, things like that? I bet
Yeah.
it's still with the
like
detox.
that, yeah, that's like those vegetables. Yeah.
And then how do you feel about the bone broth based on pasta?
So again, it's better than going to McDonald's and getting a cheeseburger, right? So, but what's it packaged in? You know, somebody's telling me they found a glass one. Heinz sells a bone broth in a glass container, which is probably better than looking for the organic, we're looking for the ingredients in it. You know, it's, again, that's a much better choice though than, you know, a cream soup that you might get from Campbell's.
All we have is a organic chicken bone broth that's in a cardboard.
Cardboard's probably gonna have some sort of a coating on it, unfortunately. Listen, that's all better choices though than eating garbage. So,
Making it home.
like, if that's the best thing you do, then go for it, right? Remember that you can't screw this up unless you go through enough water. If you don't change anything else and you just take the supplement, you're still gonna get a benefit. But the more you do, the better you do, the better you do.
And where do you get your marrow bones?
I think it's called All Grass Farms in Dundee, Barrington border. There's a couple, there's like 3 or 4 in the area, but you gotta like get there. These marrow bones, they were like, you had to like save them for me. He's like, you're gonna go. So a lot more people are
All
getting.
grass fed.
It's All Grass Farms. I think is what it's called. There's a couple out there, so you can get, and they last. Like you can actually, sometimes you'll get like 3 or 4 batches out of that bone because it's not really easy mineralized. Yeah, they last. All right, I can answer all more questions on this too at the end if you guys have more questions. Matt will be around, Sebastian will be around, so I want to do the demonstration. They can probably run it back there. You can do it for me individually for a minute. But I just want to finish up a few more things here, okay? One, the mindset part of it, because this is the huge part. 98%, they study this stuff, 98% of to be successful is usually mental, and there's only 2% of action. So if you can get your mind right, we can do this, right? We can make this happen. Hormones, sleep, human connection. This is Dr. Wendy Suzuki. The #1 predictor of long life is the number of positive social interactions we have. And that's, again, close friends and loved ones. But that could just be like going to at the gym and like you wave to the gym owner and they give you a high five. That's a positive social interaction. Or maybe you find a chiropractor who gives you a hug after each adjustment, right? You find something like that.
Is that why?
But it doesn't, I didn't know. But listen, guys, what did they just do with everybody? They just locked everybody away and had no positive social interactions. And they're wondering why our elderly population were dying like crazy. Like this stuff is so important. Sleep is so important. We've got to be sleeping, all right? I mean, all this stuff, if you're worried about this stuff, sleep is huge. Leptin, ghrelin, insulin, I didn't get to talk about those hormones. We're going to reset these hormones. Leptin is what makes you feel like you're full. Ghrelin makes you feel like you're hungry. Insulin is what takes sugar across into the cell. So anybody had the meat sweats before? Come on, am I the only ones that meat sweats?
The meat
Wait,
What is
you
the
eat too much, you feel terrible afterwards? Yeah. That's leptin. It's a hormone that's telling your mind to stop eating. It's saying stop. It's screaming at you to stop. But what do most of us do? We keep eating, and then you wear this out. because your body's super smart. So it says, there's no way they're still eating. They can't, that's not possible. And it just starts to ignore it. And then now you burn this out, and then you just keep eating, because ghrelin is still going. You keep eating. This is why we have trouble with this. Insulin, you burn your receptors out. It's super smart. Your body's saying, like, there's no way they're eating this much sugar. They can't possibly eat this much sugar. So it just stops listening to it. On our detox, when you're doing this, when you eat the raw week, you can reset all those hormones. You can reset it so your leptin and insulin starts working properly again. 3 years ago, we had a guy who reversed type 2 diabetes in 7 days. Completely reversed. All right, we had a lady lose like 30 pounds, which again isn't the goal, but a side effect. All of this is possible if you just put that energy in.
30 pounds in 2 weeks, you said?
It was 4 weeks, that was a 4-week detox.
I
It
can
was
take,
4 weeks.
I can lift.
But if you do it properly, if you stick to it, you're gonna get amazing results, and our body's gonna make those changes. All right, sweat's another way to detox, so make sure you're sweating, and that's not taking a walk. If you're not doing anything, go ahead and take a walk, ride a bike, but you wanna sweat, you wanna be breathing hard after your workout. That's, even if it's for 20 minutes, that's a good workout, you wanna be sweating. All right, and the last thing, you guys know that our goal here is health and function. So we tell you, never judge your health and how you feel. If you feel terrible during this detox, it may be a good thing, or you may be working through it. If you feel great, that's great, but keep moving here. Symptoms are just a warning sign. You're not sick, you're expressing health, right? Your body's telling you what's going on. It's a good thing. So as a chiropractor, let's see. We're always focused on your spine and your nervous system. Everything's connected. We want the absolute best for you. So just make sure that we're able to work you through this. If you have questions, we're here for you to support you through this process. Okay. Let's make sure you guys are moving in the right direction. If you're not getting adjusted and your spine's not telling your stomach what to do properly, you want to start getting adjusted. That's going to help everything work the way it's supposed to. We're going to detox body, mind, spirit, make a positive change. So find that one thing that you're going to change, guys. If you're not sure where to start, just start with one thing. Let's get that going. This was I thought it was just a great, I don't know, I would say quote, but it's from the Bible, so I don't know if that counts, but have I not commanded to be strong first? Thank you. Have I not commanded to be strong and courageous? Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord God will be with you wherever you go. Right? You're going to get through this. We're going to get better. You're going to be healthy. There's just you can't not be healthier if you do the right stuff. You guys with me? If you do the right stuff, you physically can't not get healthy. We can do this. All right. Woo! If you want to connect with us, Dr. Declan's Health Tips is a private Facebook group. So if you want to questions about this, I can get us on Facebook. You don't want your whole family to know what's going on in the whole world. Get with us on Dr. Declan's Health Tips. Dr. Declan Healthy Living, that's more of a regular page. And then Declan Family Chiropractic is our office page here. Oh, the raffle. Well, we can't let you guys go without raffling off these things here.
Can you go back to that screen, please?
Which one?
The Facebook or the?
So private Facebook group. This is where we do. This is like where this Dr. Declan's Healthy Living is where the detox will be recast at. So we got a video there, and the Declan Family Chiropractic is our general office page. Then Dr.
Bring her name on there?
We did.
We did it for you.
We did it for you.
All right, so make sure when you please have time to go back there and do that. Test those pans with us. Dr. Buffet, you want me to do this?
Go ahead.
You gotta be present to win. I know some people had to go. How about that? Joanne. Shower filter.
Mom's got something to do tonight.
Lana, water tester. There you
There
go.
we go.
All right, guys, thank you so much. If you need anything, let me know.
No.
You guys ready back there? You want to test those pots and pans? Go back.